Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Revenge of the Party Nerds podcast, coming to you live from an undisclosed location high in the Hollywoodland Hills area of Los Angeles. I'm Richard Gabai.
I'm Robert Carradine.
Yeah, that's Robert Carradine on the couch. And we have a very special guest joining us today, and he's represented on the couch by the very hat he wore in the film that I had the pleasure to direct, that also featured
Robert Carradine.
Robert frickin' Carradine. So without any further ado, let me introduce you to our guest, my dear friend, who I've actually collaborated with twice, Nathan Parsons. Nathan, how are you, man?
Hey, Richard, I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
Counting my blessings. I'm hanging out with two of my pals. I mean, it's not a bad gig. I'm in my living room, to boot.
In an undisclosed location.
In an undisclosed location.
Understood.
And joined by my buddies here in the crew, and we're thrilled to have you. Where are you now? You said you're in Texas.
I'm in Texas. I'm back home. Yeah, sort of long way around. I mean, when we first worked together, we were in New Mexico.
Right.
I ended up back in New Mexico for 4 years, and once that was done, it was time for me to come home. So, came back to the Lone Star State, and here I am.
Nice.
What town are you in, Nathan?
I'm in an undisclosed town outside of Austin.
Got it.
That's going to be our motif. And Bobby lives in a really undisclosed place right next to the Hollywood Bowl.
But it's undisclosed, yes.
Undisclosed. And we're making jokes about that because, we're under top secret. But somebody like you, for example, who started out and you're still the romantic lead in the heartthrob, but started out in those soap operas. Tell us about how you got started.
Well, actually, that story started back here in Texas, in Austin. I grew up in Austin and started out, mostly I was, as most young kids are in Texas, started out as an athlete. Did pretty much every sports thing that you could do in Texas, and my mom actually started introducing me to musical theater. And there was, at the time when I was 9 years old, there was a musical theater company that had just started in Austin. It was started by two guys from New York, and they came down here, started doing plays. I saw Peter Pan and I saw Annie when I was like 6, 7 years old. And when I was 8, 9, I said, you know what, if you can fly on stage, that seems pretty cool. So how do I do that? And so I got involved in a musical theater camp in Austin, put on by the same people. And then it just sort of snowballed. I would do about 2 or 3 shows with them, musicals every year, and then started doing voiceovers. And then by the time I was in high school, I had an agent and started working there, and moved out to LA right after I turned 18, and just kind of stumbled into a soap opera. So
that's pretty cool. And now we have something in common I didn't realize we had in common. And so, Max, while we're having this Zoom guest, should I be looking at his hat? Or should I be looking over there? Anyway,
let's see what. Hi, this is the hat that Nathan wore in the movie Justice.
But anyway, I started musical theater as well. I didn't know we had that in common, but I used to do this summer program at Cal State Northridge, the Teenage Drama Workshop, and did a bunch of those musicals. And there's nothing like actually performing a musical in front of a live audience, I would say.
I would agree, and I don't know if you, I feel like no one kind of forgets their first time, if that's, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on this, but no one forgets their
that's
first
the last
time.
question. At the end of the show, I was going to ask you about your first time.
Okay, well,
in a musical.
I just remember my first show was a show called Gypsy. For anyone who's familiar, it's a very entertaining show. But I remember the first time on stage, the lights are in your face, adrenaline is pumping, you can't see anything past the first couple rows. there was nothing like it that I had ever experienced in my life. I mean, being on a football field or a baseball diamond or nothing like it prepared me for what the feeling of being on stage with a spotlight on your face while you're singing and dancing and sweating and you feel like you're making a fool of yourself, but then you hear people clapping and it's mind-blowing. It was the biggest adrenaline rush I've ever had, and I've been addicted to it for 25 years now.
At
Wow.
least it's one of our few addictions that's fairly healthy. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So you come out to LA, and so did you do the typical thing? Were you a waiter and then you booked a gig, or how did that all get going?
No, I actually refused to be a waiter. That was one of my first hard rules when I moved out to LA. I was going to University of Southern California in their BFA program, but I refused to be a waiter. So I ended up having a whole string of random gigs. I worked at a dog kennel for a long time. I worked at a place called Puppies and Reptiles for Parties, where we would bring a menagerie of animals to kids' birthday parties, try to make sure no one got bit by the 13-foot snake or the monitor lizard or stung by the scorpions or whatever. We had all kinds of crazy stuff. But once I was at USC, I started doing, obviously there's stuff in their theater program, but they have a phenomenal film program too. And the film program goes to the theater kids and is like, hey, do you want to do a short film? Do you want to do a student film?
Right.
So I sort of started doing student films with them, and I actually worked with a film student who ended up interning with the man who became and is still to this day my manager, I'm sure you've spoken to, Richard, Chris Proffa.
Yeah.
Met him through the film department at USC, and then ended up with an agent, and the rest is history.
Right. So, all right. So you're a kid from Texas, semi-small town. I'm guessing you said sports. I'm guessing you're like a quarterback football hero, right? You're
Wide receiver. Yeah,
wide
but,
receiver. You know, you're doing those plays, and everyone's ah. So you're getting used to it. Now you come to LA and you get on one of the most important soaps of all time. So what was that like, and how did that happen?
Well, I remember I was at work at the dog kennel, and I worked nights at the kennel because I would audition during the day, go to like night classes, and then go to work. So I remember getting a phone call at probably 8 o'clock in the morning or something, and they said, okay, you weren't supposed to get this soap because I'd only been auditioning professionally in LA for a few months. They called me and they're like, so you know that soap opera you went out for, General Hospital? And I was like, yeah, I've heard of it. I think. I don't really know anything about it. And they were like, well, they wrote a part for you.
Whoa.
I started going into these auditions sort of as practice. And so I was born in Australia, so I started doing auditions with an Australian accent. And they decided to write an Australian character based on the auditions that I did.
Okay, I have to stop you right there for a minute, because as an American, I really enjoyed visiting Australia and being perceived as better looking because I had a cool accent. I was so sick of living here, right? And every girl in the world's like, oh my gosh, you hear that accent? Oh, it's so sexy. It's just, oh my God, I'm looking at this guy. He's like dog meat with a good accent, you know? And when I went to my buddy's wedding in Sydney, Australia, I would just start speaking. And all of these like junior Olivia Newton-John types are looking at me like I'm cool. So, all right, so sorry to distract from your story, but they write an Australian character. Hey, wait, Bobby,
Yes.
You know what I mean about the accent thing, right?
Absolutely, man. I was married to an accent.
I'm married to one now.
There you go.
All right, Nathan, back to your story. I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
Yeah, got this part as an Australian sort of con man. I didn't really know much about the show. I think caught a lot of people by surprise. I'd never seen the show. I didn't grow up watching TV really. But everyone was set, General Hospital.
Right, that's the bar.
Yeah.
that's
For
a big
daytime TV, that's
Yep.
the bar.
one. Got onto set and ended up being able to work with some amazing people there that taught me a lot about how to be a professional in Los Angeles, in a film world, in such a fast-paced moving.
What's that like? So you're doing like pages and pages every day. Are there teleprompters, or do you have to learn it all?
No, we would usually get a script a couple nights before. Usually have 15, 20, sometimes 30 pages.
Wow. Wow.
And then when you show up, a lot of times there are rewrites when you show up in the morning. Dressing room, and outside they have these little like shelves that they just put new pages in for you. So you show up, you pull out the new pages, and you're like, all right, I have an hour to get fully ready, learn all of these pages, go up, and I have to shoot all this in the next couple hours. So it was a very good tool to learn how to be there, how to be present, how to be. No matter what happens, you don't get retakes.
Right.
You don't. If you screw up, just go with it. It's a lot like being on stage. If you screw up, make it work. If you screw up too bad, yeah, maybe you'll get another one. But if you screw up, just run with it and hope that the people you're with are right there with you.
Just stay in
Wow.
character. So Bobby and I, we both happened to be in the same horror movie that wrapped early this morning. So, those three lines that we were struggling with last night?
I do remember.
It's nothing.
Okay.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
But I know what that's like. As an actor, one of the things I was happy about doing this movie was on day one, I had like 7.5 pages. And I was like, oh, can I still do that? Like, do I still have the equipment? And thankfully I did. And I don't know if you're friends with, do you know Brian Austin Green? I know you're younger. He started in 90210, but I know you guys that have had so many TV series, y'all end up knowing each other at one point or
Yeah,
another.
we probably cross paths.
But it was great for me to work with a pro like that and actually know that I could still do 7 pages. 25, 30 pages, no chance.
Now, when you guys were doing that, would you, like if the camera's looking one way, would you shoot all the bits looking that way from all 3 shows? Or would you complete a show and then start the next one?
Yeah, that's block shooting. Did you block shoot?
Yeah,
or-
well, we actually, the way we did it, we had 4 or 5 cameras at once. You set up your blocking basically, and then you have these 4 camera operators and sometimes a crane that are all shooting simultaneously. And so what they'll do, there's a little light on the top of each camera, and you kind of got to pay attention to which light is popping on, because as
Right.
they're always cross shooting. If you're standing, upstaging someone, and the light comes on, then you're blocking their camera, and so you kind of got to be aware of where your camera is, where their camera is, where the lighting is. It's a lot of, I would say it's more choreography than blocking.
And then when you would get to work and there'd be a bunch of new pages on the door, I mean, would it be like a third of it rewritten or half of it or a quarter of it? I mean, how much of it was rewritten and how close was it to the stuff you'd already learned?
A lot of it was pretty close. Sometimes they would need to add like an exposition piece, something to explain another piece of the story that they missed
Right.
at some point because of how they shoot. Other times they would try to condense things, which was always helpful.
Yeah.
And just say, instead of, talking about this for 8 pages, can you do it in 5 and get to the point,
Right. Yeah. Watch this.
And if all else fails, if all else fails, you could just flash that smile, and half of the people in the crew and the cast would faint anyway, and you'd be fine, right? Bring that kid back. So how long were you on the soap?
I was there for 3 years.
3 years. Because I was
Yeah.
reading briefly, and then you chose to leave that show on your own, right?
Yeah, when I first signed on, I had a 4-year contract.
So
I did 3 years, and I thought, all right, I've learned as much as I can with this. Let's see what else I can do. And
All right, well, looks like they've got something queued up. Let's flash back a memory.
Oh yeah, I had the man bun.
All the cool kids had them back then.
Yeah.
Well, that came back.
So how old were you when you were shooting this stuff?
That was probably 2021.
Wow. So you just took off. Did you finish college or did you just?
No, I didn't. I left. I tried to go back for my sophomore year, but I
Right.
was working and was kind of doing well, so I never finished.
Right. I definitely, Bobby, we don't want your nephew, my son, Raphael, to see this episode because he's a freshman in college now. I already know he doesn't want to go back next year. And he has started to work, but he's not on a soap yet. So I have a feeling that history will repeat itself, and I completely get it. You want to get on with it, right?
Yeah, well, one thing I do regret the way that I did it was all of my friends that I had started college with, they finished college, they had a full college experience. Some of them have got on shows, some of them are doing something completely else now. But because of me leaving, I lost touch with pretty much all of them.
Right.
That was a hard thing for me to do. It was like, moved to LA, I had just started making friends, just starting to feel like I was figuring out life, and then curveball, suddenly I don't have time to hang out with the people that I want to hang out with, and I don't have time
Right.
to learn a lot of adult life skills that I really wish I had time for.
But Nathan, but working in Hollywood, you meet some of the most sincere, real, great people that are just by your side through thick and thin.
Yeah, they have your back.
They don't just call you when you're on a show or hang out with you when you're on a show. They're there all the time.
Yeah, well, funny about that, I've been so fortunate to where it seems like every project I've done, there has been a small handful of people that I am able to keep in touch with and that I continue to be with. Everyone else spreads, but like I get to talk to you guys again. I have
Right.
such great memories from working with y'all in New Mexico, in the cold, in the dust, in the wind. Like
And
that
in,
was
and in Vancouver,
amazing.
we were planning on starting to we've been making some of these shows, and we had a guest that couldn't make it today, and I texted Nathan this morning, and because we're actually friends. You turned down the 4th year. Did you have your next gig yet, or were you just done?
No, I didn't have my next gig. What I had was a lot of arrogance, thinking that I had done 3 years. I had created this whole character arc. I had this, I was doing great. I thought I was on top of the world. Little did I know, I'm 21 and stupid. And, I had just moved out to Santa Monica because I thought I can afford the beach after a couple years of work.
Right.
That quickly faded. So yeah, I really didn't have a plan other than I just thought I did it.
Right, but
And
the next one was coming, and then was the next thing True Blood, or was there something before that?
I think it was the originals
Oh, the originals, right.
after that.
Unlike other people in your profession, that is the television series profession, you opted out and were able to go on. I know the gal from ER, Sherry Stringfield, she did a similar thing, and then we kind of never heard from her again. Yeah.
It's hard to do.
See, I'm of the
because-
school of, ride that dog till it drops.
Yeah, but you made good choices because you did go from one show to the next show, and then I just remember before we met that when you were on the last season of True Blood, like that's where you were on the radar. Like people that I knew were talking about you.
I did get very fortunate in that. Like I said, I did a couple minor films, but by the time I was in my 3rd year on the soap, I had gotten some good auditions, and I think because I had a background in theater, I always loved going into casting offices.
Uh-huh.
I loved going into rooms because it was a throwback to a live performance.
Wow.
Right.
I ended up developing some really great relationships with casting because I liked being present with them. I liked being able to interact with them, and you can just sort of feel the presence of someone when you're in the room with them. which I'm sure
Right.
we'll get to this later, but that's something that I very much have missed since
Right,
2020.
since the whole COVID taped auditions. Right?
Yeah. And I've unfortunately lost a lot of those relationships, but I had started to develop really good relationships with casting and with some studios and stuff like that just from meetings. So by
Right,
the time I left the show, it took a few years, but casting kept calling. They said, okay, that role wasn't right, but maybe let's try this one.
Right.
So it's sort of, but it was really about just being there in person, working with the people that you're in the room with.
Well, I
Right.
totally get that because most of the time, auditioning is not something I look forward to, but there's been some occasions where I got in the room and things lit up, and I was able to put down my guard and flourish in front of them. And those are the jobs that I usually got.
And the human connection that you have in the room with people is now almost gone, at least preliminary, because everything, I mean, most first auditions now are just on tape ever since COVID. So that human connection is kind of gone, and that also the excitement you feel when you get in the room. Like I remember that as well. It's like it's curtain time, or like when Max is counting us in to do an episode of this show. It's like, okay, we're on. We got to turn it on, and you do kind of miss that.
Wait. We have to turn it on?
No, you don't, Bobby. You're a movie star. You're always turned on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, just smile. That's it. $1 million smile. Some mortals like me, I have to work harder.
Okay, all right.
Sorry. But so you do True Blood, and then that's kind of a hit. And I don't remember, was it much long after that we did Justice together?
Pretty shortly after that.
And that was an amazing experience for me. And
I love that.
Thank you again for taking that role and for, grabbing it, for lack of a better terms, grabbing it, by the reins and riding that horse fast.
So Nathan, how much time had you spent on a horse before you did Justice?
I mean, I started riding. First time I rode a horse was in high school,
Okay.
and I had worked on a horse a couple times, not on a show, but just on a ranch doing basic stuff.
And you are really quite the horseman, and we actually had you. I had you wrangling cattle in the Hallmark film we did up in Vancouver. Can you pull up that trailer from Justice? Yeah. Let's take a look at this. I'm not talking through this because this is all of us. Directed by me, starring Nathan and Bobby and a bunch of other great actors. Stephen Lang and Jamie Lynn Sigler. Let's hit this. All right. Full disclosure, wait, in Nazi-occupied France. Oh, God. No, but full. Wait a minute. I thought I was in an undisclosed location. But all kidding aside, but we should never stop kidding. Seeing that trailer again just gave me chills, and I'm really proud of that. And and then that's also interesting because we didn't have an in-person audition, we didn't meet on tape. I got the gig, whatever. There was all kinds of names being thrown around, and at the time, like thinking, we're going to get a big name in the lead, and I'm hearing, we're hiring this guy, we're hiring that guy, we're hiring this guy, and I'm just saying like, okay. And then like the day before we started shooting, you show up, I was like, cool, this guy's fresh, I'm not making a movie that someone's going to say sucks because it has some like actor that really needs a job that used to be somebody. Like having you on the way up, starring in that film, to me made it, aside from the fact that you were perfect for the part and that your performance was amazing, it just made the movie so fresh. And we had Bobby Carradine from the Westerns playing the dad, and we had Slang and Jamie Lynn Sigler, but you really carried that movie.
Well, I appreciate it, but I mean, I was very fortunate because I think I got the call on either Thursday or Friday, and they said, how soon can you get to New Mexico? And I was like, well, how soon do you need me? I can drive there. And they were like, okay, can you get there like Saturday night, Sunday morning? I was like, yeah, cool. For what? Like, what are we doing? And it was, oddly enough, I had actually read that script a while back, and they had initially gone away from me because they said they wanted someone a little bit older. They wanted like a different person. I was like, oh man,
Right.
that's gonna be a cool movie though. Like, I can't wait to see it. And then I get the call, like, get to New Mexico immediately. And I kid you not, I packed up a bag. I loaded my dog up in my Jeep,
I remember you showing up.
and I hit the road. And I was like, I can get to New Mexico tomorrow.
I was just glad that this hat fit because I think we already had the hat. You put on that hat in the lobby of the hotel.
Yeah.
When we met
yeah.
each other, I was
I
like,
think we
this
tried
guy
on a
looks
couple-
good in this hat. Can you ride a horse?
We tried
Yeah.
on a couple of them, and that was the one that we were just like, oh
Yeah.
no, that. Yeah,
Do you
that's
have one
the-
also? Because this one is the double. Did they give you the other one?
Yes.
Or?
Oh no, I still have it. I
Okay,
still have it.
cool.
Because this
Yeah.
is a really good hat. Just want
Oh,
you
yeah.
to know. I'm a hat guy. That's a really good hat.
It's a
Yeah, so
great
that
one.
and that was an amazing experience. And what a cast! How about that? How about that Stephen Lang, aka Slang, and Jamie Lynn Sigler and everybody else?
Oh, it was great. And then be able to walk in with Bobby and with Slang and with Jamie and with everyone that was already very much locked into this. And you obviously, you already knew what you had a vision for this. And so being able to walk into that and just be like, I'm in the right direction. Put me on the horse. I believe that horse's name was Spanky, if I remember.
Correct. Raleigh. And you know, Raleigh,
Raleigh was
Yeah.
our wrangler.
but I was thinking about Raleigh is that Raleigh then directed a Western and he hired me as an actor
Oh,
out
that's
in New
awesome.
Mexico.
Raleigh-
We were back in that same bar.
Yeah,
And
that's a great spot to shoot.
yeah. And I forgot about, talking about, sticking with lines, anyone who, we had Jackson Rathbone for that one day.
Oh, yeah.
He played your brother. He had pages and pages and pages of dialogue.
And he nailed it
He
every
did not.
take.
I wish he would miss a word. His hair was perfect. He looked perfect. He didn't miss a word. But yeah, we had a blast out there. And what's interesting about that movie, because it had a 15-day schedule, but I guess there was some producer differences of opinion. And so they asked me if we needed certain scenes, and I said, well, I know it's going to be long enough, and those scenes don't move the story forward. So we actually wrapped it in 14 days. I don't know if you remember that, but
I do remember that. Yeah.
and other than there was a scene where the cavalry comes in. That was the only day we had 2 camera bodies. Everything, all other 13 days was only 1 camera. And now even almost on every movie I've been on, it's always at least 2 and all that
Right.
sort of thing. But I remember, other than the great memories, my funniest memory on that movie is, I don't know if you guys remember, if you were there at the climax of the movie when the cavalry comes in and all the townspeople are running around and all that, there was a dust storm. Well, that was a funny thing. Apparently in New Mexico in April, every day at 3 o'clock, the wind starts blowing and there's dust everywhere.
Yep.
And-
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, big time. And one of the locals is like, hey, Richard, why are you trying to make a Western in April? It's like, frick, I don't know. I've never been here before. I took the job. So, of course, as Murphy's Law has it, we're shooting the climax of that movie, and the wind starts, whoosh, and the bummer is you don't see it on camera. And the entire crew is then huddled in this barn with a crack opened. I'm out there in like ski goggles, and Scott Peck, the DP, is out there in his goggles. And I was really tired, and it was just one of those days. And the wind starts growing, and we have like 8 horses coming in and extras crisscrossing. The entire crew, including the ADs, everybody else, is in the barn, away from the wind. And I just looked over at that barn, and I said, everybody wants to direct, except right now. But it went off without a hitch. And then I was so excited to see that footage, except you don't see any of the dust. You don't see any of the dust on the footage. Nobody will ever know. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to vent and tell my story, to speak my truth. This man belongs in Cal. Yeah, let's see share some of these memories, because my daughter pulled these up for us. That's right up there. And I think that barn right there is where everybody was hiding during the dust storm. So what else do we have from this one? We got some Stephen Lang, and he paid me one of the greatest compliments. I'm so grateful that he took this job, and then he delivered the goods like nobody's business.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah.
You work with guys and you say, oh yeah, that's why he's that guy. He's so good.
Well, he also, the combination of him against Nathan was really, that was really dynamic.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I remember I think it was one of the last scenes of the movie. We were shooting in the turquoise mines up there,
Yep.
and I have never been so scared to walk into a scene in my life because he has like a whole monologue where he's doing like he's telling the whole story of why he did what he did, and I'm supposed to go in and like be cooler than slang. Like how do you even do? I didn't know.
I want to be honest with you.
Like,
The good thing, you didn't have to be cooler. You just had to like look younger and more and better, and you did that.
and run out of that cave.
Yeah,
before
I
you
was
do
scared
it.
of that cave
Yeah.
because there were bats up there. Kept seeing all those bats. There were like literally bats, and I'm scared of vampires. And I'd be like, look up, and there's like these freaking bats hanging down like real. I was like, wait, that's really a thing.
So you guys probably had bat shit.
There was guano. I remember when we were shooting the end of Justice, we had that great shot of you riding off into the sunset, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and you were like, I was like, hey, can we do this one more time? And you were like, dude, this is kind of a big, powerful animal. I think like maybe one more, but like whatever. And I felt bad asking you to do something. In fact, on the movie last night, they asked me to do a stunt on the stairway, and I just went, no, no. Hey, do we have? We should probably let's jump because then I got another gig, and then I was able to bring you on. Was directing for the Hallmark Channel a completely different kind of Western, a modern day Western, a feeling of home with the legendary Robbie Benson.
Saturday, May 11th.
Well. Look who's back home on the range.
Choosing isn't easy when you've got a heart as big as Texas.
She makes me laugh, she makes me cry, she makes me
You know, may have more Texas in you than I like to admit.
Jonna Walsh, Nathan Parsons, and Robbie Benson.
What do you want?
Honestly, I'm not even sure anymore.
Texas
A
got
Feeling of Home. Premieres Saturday, May 11th at 9 on Hallmark Channel.
Well, there you go. I think that movie kind of. Wait a minute, doesn't that kind of combine Justice with the soaps? You know, all the emotional beats, the beautiful images, along with the Western stuff.
Now, does he ride off into the sunset in this one and leave the girl behind?
No, in this one they stay together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of bittersweet when you rode off and left Jamie Lynn Sigler, holding her apron.
Yeah, that was bittersweet. That was, I mean, Jamie was so wonderful to work with in that. I mean, it's the hardest thing about shooting a Western, I think, is riding off into the sunset because you don't want it to end. You're like, wait, is this?
Oh, 100%. And
Do
cowboy
we do a
hats
sequel?
off.
Do I get to come back? But,
Yeah. And cowboy hats off to Jamie Lynn because she's been publicly battling MS, and that was at the beginning of it all. And she was very brave to take on that role, and I'm grateful that she trusted me to direct her in that because even there was a lot of no one would have guessed that she was having anything. She's really a trooper, and we definitely got to have her on
Oh, yeah, I think she'd be
the Revenge
great.
of the Party Nerds podcast. Hey, Max, do you have that picture of me feeding that cow? I just want to tell all of our friends out there in the audience and Nathan and Bobby, if they didn't know this already, that picture where I'm feeding the baby cow. Because here's the thing, Nathan, and you're from Texas. I remember we had this calf, and we can even zoom in on the calf's eyes. The calf is cute, but I noticed something on that movie which I never knew before, that even as that cow is like a week old or something. Those dead black eyes. It's not like looking at a dog. I think those things are food. Like, they don't have it's not like a puppy dog. Like you look at a dog's eyes, it's like a human looking at you, even at that tiny stage. And when you were wrangling all those cattle, I was out there with you, and I was like, those are it's like a mask. Kind of scary.
Those are steaks.
Could be. So now you're back in Texas, and we skipped completely over your hit series. So this was a series before A Feeling of Home? I don't remember. Roswell.
I did Justice with You, and then finished out doing the originals. And I had been shooting the originals at the same time I was shooting True Blood. So once True Blood ended, I finished out originals. I think I did Justice with You. So after I kind of wrapped all that up, I took some time off. I said like I'm exhausted.
The good news is every time it's rolling, you do feel like it'll never end, and then it does. But then things come back, and we had a blast out there in Vancouver on a feeling at home, and I remember we had some great seats at that hockey game, and that was a good time.
I will say I had never been to Canada before working with you and doing Once Upon a Time, and it's beautiful up there.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's cold, but it was great, and just to have the opportunity to do that, and then go back to New Mexico where you and I kind of started this whole thing off. It was, it's cool how some of these things come full circle. It's
Absolutely, and we're not done yet. And that's the great thing about our business is, like I called you today, and I was grateful that you were able to be available as opposed to down the line. My phone could ring tomorrow, and then yours could ring 15 minutes later.
Or not.
Or not. I think I'd probably call Bobby again if there was a thing he was right for. But
yeah.
Even if I'm not right for it, Richard, call me.
Copy that. But it's a blast catching up with you, man. And I don't know what you have next, but I know it's going to be great. And I hope it's with us. Hope we're back together again. Back on the range.
You
Back on the
got my
range.
number.
Thanks so much for tuning in, man. And we'll talk soon.
Bye, Nathan.
Sounds good, man. It's great seeing you guys again.
Yeah, see you, brother.
All right.
Take care, Bobby.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Nathan Parsons, the legendary Robert Carradine.
Yeah.
And we will see you all next time on the Revenge of the Party Nerds podcast, coming to you live
From an undisclosed location.